Hey everybody, NFL in London podcast, final countdown. Wade and Ryan here, week 18. So many mathematical things.
Oh,
I'm like that
Happy
meme
New
with
Year.
Zach Galifianakis in The Hangover. It's like all these combinations and permutations of things that can happen. As we head into the final weekend, some people will say the NFL is scripted. Good for you. How do you feel? Because we got a lot of, we're going to go through all the games, but there are just some
Well,
interesting ramifications as we've talked about. One, two, three seeds. If it's destined that the
I
Bears
mean,
are going to play the Packers, obviously the Packers have been desperate in the past couple days, picking up Desmond Ritter, Diggs, you know.
it's one of those things now, especially when you get into week 18, where now there's no one really on the outside other than Baltimore who's in it. It's now just kind of jockeying for position, and you have to kind of weigh the risks of
Mm-hmm.
how much do you want to put people at risk compared to how
Mm-hmm.
important is it to you to be six or seven? Is it worth like the Bills are seventh? Is it worth them playing Josh
Yeah.
Allen so they can maybe move up to fifth
Yeah.
and then risk injury when he's already kind of hurt to begin with? So, this is where the coaches kind of play that fine line. I remember it was a couple of years ago. It was wasn't it? It was Brandon Staley, and he got Mike Williams hurt in a meaningless Week 18 game or something like that, and he was just kind of messed him up. And then they lost the next week in the playoffs. And people are like, "Why are you playing Mike Williams, chucking it down the field to him?" And he messed up his knee, and I think was out the next game. And you're like, so I think people are just going to just kind of really, there'll be a lot of scoreboard watching and a lot of being like, if someone
Yeah.
gets a big lead, we'll be like, all right, let's pull them out, pull retreat, white flag. So
Yeah.
it's an interesting perspective also from bets because I don't know. I think like how do you even bet this week? Do the unders feel like they should hit, but are they even going to give you the option to bet? Like
Yeah.
Josh Allen, who's going to come out and probably kneel or just hand it off the first play so he can get the start and then walk off. So it's like it's gonna be interesting. I'm kind of fascinated on the bets this week.
Well,
You kind of only have to play
yeah.
the competitive
Pretty
games.
much so.
Right?
And I mean, unless you're
Stay away
willing
from
to
the
look
duds.
at betting on backup quarterbacks, then it really doesn't seem like you're really getting much value on it. Or the third
Right?
string running back that he gets over 3 yards, something like that. Where it's as you say, you get to a point. It's like, well, a lot of guys are just going to give other people a shot. Other people, it's just like, okay, well, let's just take this easy. Aside from maybe the first game, which we'll talk about, Carolina and Tampa, where they go balls hard, or what do they do? Let's get into that game because it's an it.
Well, before that, there's one more thing. The other
Yeah,
fun thing to
sure.
bet is it's incentives day,
Yeah.
right? So it's always like, what are the big incentives that people can hit? So that's from a betting perspective, that's kind of what you want to bet. Someone needs,
Mm-hmm.
5 catches to get this. Probably going to get it, bet it. I mean, these players want that money. They know about the incentives. They're not just like, am I? If I get one touchdown, bet that touchdown because I think they're going to do whatever they can to get it for them. Unless, you're a playoff team, they're just not going to risk you. They're just like, listen, we'll
Well,
just
I mean,
slide it
if
under the
Mike
table.
Evans
You'll
say
get
gets
it
like
anyway. Please don't
950
play.
receiving yards, he could hit 1,000. Which, yeah. Um, let's
There
uh,
you
let's
go.
talk about that first game.
There you go.
Saturday,
That'd be
4:30.
amazing.
Be 9:30 in the UK. Carolina 8-8,
So,
Tampa Bay 7-9. The dirty division. Bucks favored by 2.5. They haven't like since week 8. They've just been on the downward trajectory. Been like 1-7. They're 2.5 point favorites. 44.5. 44 is the over under.
yeah.
Man, and you look at Carolina. I mean, look at how inspired they've been playing, getting the running game together. How do you like Carolina heading into Tampa Bay, where Tampa Bay's favored?
Well, it's really interesting because Tampa Bay could win, and if the Falcons beat the
Mm-hmm.
Saints, the Panthers would win the division on a three-way tie. So if the Bucks win, they're still watching on Sunday to see what happens between that. So the Panthers are in the kind of sweet spot. They know win this, it's over. But even if they lose, they still got a pretty good chance. The way Atlanta's been playing, they beat the Rams. Bijan's probably going to run wild up for a bit. So I think the Panthers kind of know we do not want to leave this
Kirk
in the
Cousins,
hands
yeah.
of the New Orleans Saints to help us. I mean, like, yeah, I'm just being like, I think so. I'm gonna go with the Panthers. I just think the Bucks right now are just completely just a broken team. I think their defense isn't playing well. I think Tom Bowles has just I just never been like a top Bulls believer. He just always seems to be this guy who can have these good regular seasons, but when it comes push comes to shove, the big games, the big moments, his team always been let down. Baker's just kind of fallen, and they have talent all over the field. That's what's crazy about this. This is not a team like bereft of talent. Like you're watching, like who is Baker throwing to? He's throwing to like incredible receivers all across the board. So to me, I just think this is a kind of a Bucks team that's just broken. At least the Panthers show life every other week, you know. And I think the fact that they're kind of this plucky team that nobody believes in. I think all the pressure to me is on the Bucks to win this. So I'm gonna
It
go
is
with
an
the
upset because
Panthers to
Bucks
kind
is
of pull
favored
off a
by two
little.
and a half
I
at
don't know.
home.
Is it an upset? Is it an upset? It is an upset. I'm going to go 27-24 for the Panthers just to erase any of this scoreboard watching the next day because I don't know. I kind of feel like Bryce Young, this is his moment. This is his, like, I should be your quarterback next year. If he goes out there and throws for like 85 yards and stinks, like a la Sam Darnold last year in the big moments, they might just be like, I don't know about this. Should we do this again? I'm going to go that Bryce
I agree
Young
with you
keeps
on
his
this
job
one, and I think it's to your
with a
point.
big
I
win,
don't
wins
know
the
what the
division.
hell has gone on with Tampa, but it does look like Baker's injured. The defense has fallen apart. They're not able to stop the run. They used to be good. Vita Vea, the whole team just seems to have sort of regressed a bit, and they're not really getting. The O line is not creating opportunities for them as well. It just feels like a nemesis game where the Bucks need this, and to your point, Carolina, obviously they could lose and still win. So, these are all sort of complicated times, but I really like Carolina here. I just think that the coaching, and I don't know if Bulls will be out next year because you sort of get so far and then you flub it up and it's like, okay, what are we doing with this coach? Like, is it the coach's problem? Is he the one who's doing this? So I've got Carolina to win 21-17. Again, I hit those unders. I think there's just, even with a game that means a lot, I think it'd be really defensively minded. So I'm with you on this one, Carolina to win. Big one Saturday night, Seattle, 1-point favorites, 13-3 against their division rivals, the San Francisco 49ers, 12-4. San Fran beat my Bears last week in a crazy back and forth game. Over under in this one is 49.5. San Fran at home.
Nice.
You've got a Seattle team whose defense is coming together. The running game, Sam Darnold is looking good. No one talks about him for MVP. Of course, they're talking Drake May. But this has a chance to put them one of the best records in football. How do they face off against the 49ers, who 49ers is San Fran, even if they've got a bunch of broken toys in the box, they're still getting wins and getting people healthy and back together.
Yeah, I would also say for San Francisco and MVP talk, I don't think Christian McCaffrey gets enough talk about what he does out there. Like he's on the brink of like 1,000 yards receiving, 1,000 yards rushing, 100 receptions. Like he's having a year of all ages, winning people fantasy championships all over while going ninth overall when no one kind of believed in him. And then the fact that you've also got, Kyle Shanahan, just no matter who's in all year, he's been in his bag. Just doesn't matter. Give me Mac Jones, 400 yards. And now he's got Brock Purdy throwing 5 touchdowns. Just kind of getting hot at the right time. And that's kind of what the playoffs are about. And that's kind of like the scariest thing about, we kind of saw it in years past. That's how Eli Manning won his Super Bowls, right? That team just got hot right near the end. And it's kind of, once you get on that momentum, that run, Joe Burrow was like that. Once you get on that run, they're pretty hard to stop. So I'm going to go with the Niners. They're just playing right now, I think, better football than anyone. The Seattle is, good as their D, gives up a lot of points recently. Last couple games, they've been scored on quite a bit. Even the Panthers were able to kind of move it up and down on them when it looked. So I am going to go with the Niners to win 31-28. I think it's going to be a shootout. And I think Kyle Shanahan, as much as I've made fun of him in the past sometimes, I think this is his best year he's ever done. Losing Bosa, losing Fred Warner, and still losing Purdy for like 5-6 weeks. Losing Ayuk, who never came back. Ricky Pearsall hurt. Didn't matter. Still puts his team 12-4. So this is a Kyle Shanahan masterclass coaching season.
That as well. San Fran last year, their record, they had 4 wins or something like that. And then they're full circle around to a winning team this year. So there is, I think, a lot of props to them for doing this. Personally, I just think that Seattle's too much for them in this one. I think Seattle really wants to get this 1 seed, finish it all off, get this done. Because, if San Fran wins this one, I guess they would then have it, wouldn't they? The division. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and
So
potentially the one seed. Yeah, I think
this is the
so.
big game on
This is like
Saturday, eight
as big a
o'clock.
game
So
as it
I
gets.
actually like Seattle to win this one. I've got them to win 26-20. I think the defense shows up. I think they fluster them a bit, shut it down, make Brock Purdy make mistakes, and keep him on his back feet. They've got the running game as well that they can throw into them.
Yeah, I just worry it's that again with what happened with Darnold last year with the Vikings when he had these Week 18 games where he needed to be at his best and he wasn't, and you're now getting Brock Purdy who's just kind of playing as I don't know. I think this is such a big game for Sam Darnold, and I don't know how the nerves are going to set if he comes out slow, throws an early interception, or a bad fumble. I don't know if the wheels come off like they did last year. And it's like, is this a problem? Again, if he has this loss and it goes into the
Yeah.
playoffs, plays bad in the playoffs, this is 2 years in a row where it looks MVP-esque, not really to that level, but really, really solid playing the last couple of years. So I think it's one of the best games of the year. That the fact that I think this should be the Sunday night game, not
Yeah.
the
I mean, the NFL scheduling and all that kind of stuff. I think the way you do it, everyone's like, what the hell's going on? Especially like around Christmas time. We're still on our
no.
holidays, and you're going to ruin a Saturday night with this. So, yeah, I think it could have been played at a different time, but, I don't know. I'm very excited to this game. I'm going to be watching it. I'll be staying up for it, so it'll be exciting. Let's head into our Sunday slate, where it's another NFC North divisional rivalry. Green Bay 9-6-1, Minnesota 8-8. Minnesota went from 6-point favorites to 7-point favorites. As mentioned, they picked up Desmond Ridder as their new quarterback, as the backup to Malik Willis, and they picked up Trayvon Diggs, who got dumped by the Cowboys sort of ceremoniously in this regard. But it's Minnesota who's favored in this one. They're at home, 37 points is the over-under. Second half of the season, Minnesota's been playing some pretty shutout football, especially at home. They've been playing very difficult. How do you like, Green Bay coming into this? They're already into the playoffs. Is it just going to be messing around for them? They're not going to play a lot of their starters. Going to try to keep everyone healthy when they possibly play the Bears in the first round.
I love how Desmond Ritter is kind of like he's kind of like the goat in Jurassic
Yeah,
Park that just gets lowered into the cage on week 18. Desmond Ritter always plays week 18, and it's like, let's just pick up Ritter, let him get murdered by
yeah,
an angry Brian Flores in his last game. So I think it's hilarious that Desmond Ritter always plays in week 18
yeah.
in these just beat down games. Good for him though. I'll take it. It's going to take a beating, I think. Again, if I'm Malik Willis, do I even
Trade
want to
me.
play? I think I proved myself enough these last two games that I'm going into free agency, seeing lots of teams with lots of questions, lots of potential. Malik
Jets.
Wilson could say, "Yeah, I'll go to the Falcons and I'll battle Penix. I'll go the Jets. I wouldn't go to the Jets. I wouldn't recommend. I don't think he's going to go that far. But to me, again, this is the only thing that matters in this game is how JJ McCarthy goes. If he can just go out, play in backups in there, being able to get Jefferson his 100 yards. They got to get Jefferson leaving that stadium or leaving
Yeah.
town with at least a good game, 100 yards, a touchdown, maybe multiple touchdowns, especially if you're going to be going against backups. It's inexcusable to not get this to work. So if I'm a betting man, I'm probably betting Jefferson, but does he pull himself out? Do they get up early? I'm going to go Jefferson anytime touchdown. I think would be a good bet. I think they owe him a touchdown, uh, basically. And to me, I think Packers, yeah, they're pretty much locked into the 7th seed. It's looking like it's going to be Bears Packers for the third time, which is going to be absolute amazing. I don't know where you
Tubi.
put that game.
Yeah.
I think you put
Oh,
it,
okay.
I
Yeah.
guess Sunday night, Sunday late game, the Sunday late game probably the 9:30 game. I'm gonna go Vikings. Take this quite easy. I'm gonna go Vikings with 26
I've got
to
it 26 to
16.
13 again. Yeah, I mean the only thing you just don't want to see is anyone tear an ACL in week 18. No, it's just the worst, because then not only have you ruined your whole off season's done, but then possibly next season as well. So that is the
Yeah,
worst thing.
next
But
year. You're
I
going
can't
on
see
next year.
anything but Minnesota just stomping all over Green Bay. Green Bay is just going to play a lot of their guys backups. Green Bay to me, and it's just maybe as a Bears fan, they look really desperate. Obviously, the way we beat them, that they've been losing some games like this. Yeah, they're very banged up, and
Well, they're
you know,
banged up. They're
so it's going to be
banged up.
interesting to see how they come
Is what
back.
they
But
are.
this is, rest their guys, get all the rest they can. But I can see Minnesota, who's been playing some really good football at the end of the season, having a great game in this one. Heading in, The Colts are out of the playoffs. Thank you, old man Rivers, for doing what you could. Didn't look that bad, you know. You got the ball around. You look better than some of the young kids. Indianapolis had a disappointing season, though, 8-8. And they're going into Houston, who are going to the playoffs. They're 11-5. 10.5 is the over/under for Houston. Obviously, at 11-5, it all comes down if you get a win. How does that work? You're fighting Jacksonville for this division. But, Jacksonville is obviously a different beast. But it's all the playoff potential and playoff spots they have. How do you like Houston at home in this one? They're 10.5-point favorites with 39 points over/under.
It's a tricky one, I think, because basically they're scoreboard watching. They need to kind of see what Jacksonville does. Jacksonville gets up big, you know. Do they start pulling back some of their players? And then if they do, does that affect the game? Do they lose because they start pulling back some players? And then that drops them potentially maybe to 6 or 7. Who knows? So again, these are just so many like little kind of balls they're going to be juggling in the air, these coaches. But I mean, the fact that Rivers, they've done him a good solid to be like, you don't need to go up against Houston for the last game of the season and potentially die. Yeah. They're basically doing what Rocky didn't do in Rocky 4, and they're throwing in the towel on Phillip Rivers' career and saying, you're not getting murdered in the ring. I think Texans win this. I think, again, who's even going to be the quarterback on the Colts? Is it? It's not going to be
like that. I think it is. Yeah,
Riley
I think it is
Leonard?
Leonard.
Was it Riley Leonard before or something like that? So I think it might be Riley Leonard. So going against an angry Texans defense, I don't feel good about that. I don't feel good about Jonathan Taylor getting much yards. So I think it's going to be a real tough day for them. And I still think even if the Texans bench their starters, their backups can handle Riley Leonard. So I'm going to go Texans win 2010.
It's really, to your point, they're going to be fierce. They're going to shut this down in the first half. Keep watching the score. I mean, because Jacksonville is playing Tennessee and looking probably to wallop Tennessee, they're going to want to sort of keep pace and go, okay, we got to get this win. How much can they open it up in the first half? I mean, Indianapolis might put up a bit of a fight, but I don't think that they'll have enough fight left in them. I've got it 30-9. I've got the Colts just kicking field goals. I think Houston plays some angry football and kicks the crap out of them. Battle of Ohio, Cleveland 4-12. Cincinnati 6-10, 7.5 is the line, 44.5 is the over/under. Could it be Flacco playing his old team? They talked about, obviously both teams are out of this, but Cleveland, Myles Garrett not getting his sack records, 44.5 over/under. These two teams always play each other tough in the Battle of Ohio. How do you like this one, this ugly Ohio game?
Well, it's funny that Pittsburgh might have risked their whole playoff life just to not let Myles Garrett get the sack record. They basically just threw that game away. It's like, we're not even going to play offense. All that matters is Aaron Rodgers cannot be the guy getting sacked by Myles Garrett. So I wonder if Joe Burrow's the same. Joe Burrow's like, what, I don't want to be the guy getting sacked for the record either. I don't want to, put Flacco in. Because I think right now, I think Myles Garrett's feeling it. He's had this. Everyone thought he was going to have this record wrapped up. This is now going his third game looking for that record. So I think he gets it. I think they throw Joe Flacco to he becomes now the GOAT who gets dropped in and to get eaten by the T-Rex that is Myles Garrett. And I think by second half, Joe Burrow plays for a bit, throws it away, doesn't get sacked, and then they put Flacco in. So Garrett gets it. I think it's important. I hope he gets it. I think he's one of the best defensive players I've ever seen, and he deserves it because he's been absolutely dominant on a crappy team for so long. And I'm going to go with the Bengals to win on 23-20.
It is going to be interesting because, as we said before, that whoever takes that sack record lives on in infamy, because you're always going to be posturized as him smacking into you and knocking you down. I think it will be Flacco, and he's got the humility to go,
Well, technically, Brett Favre gave himself up for the Michael Strahan one. So, and it was super controversial at the time where everyone was like, how dare he? He just kind of gave it to him like, wink, buddy, I'll run into you and slide. And it was kind of sketchy when you look back on it. So I think Myles Garrett wants to earn it, and it wants to be like a real hit him sack. So
one of those ones where he takes off Flacco's helmet. Like the head, and he's got that Aaron Rodgers face, and they got to give him the smelling salt. Yeah. But I think I'm with you. Like 7.5 points is a little too much for this one. The way
Yeah.
that Cleveland's defense has been playing, and I could just see them, having a little bit of a tussle here because these two are just like brothers. They just beat the crap out of each other in this kind of game. So I've got it 23-18. I think it's going to be low scoring. The weather again, it's just horrible in this area of the world, North America. It's going to be snow. It's snowing right now. It's always snowing. It's always fucking snowing here. I can't wait to come back to the
Yeah.
UK. Did I mention that?
Also, can I say, I also think there's a chance that Joe Flacco refuses to go in. So then the
Sure.
third stringer becomes the sacrificial lamb, is what I think. Joe Flacco, Joe
Yeah.
Flacco is going to be like, "Are you fucking kidding me? There's no
I'm too
way
old for this
I'm
crap.
going out on that field to get sacked." It's going to be hilarious. There's going to be like a 10-minute. There's going to be like a 10-minute break in the
Yeah.
game where the Bengals can't get anyone to play quarterback,
It'll be
and they're going to
fun.
have to
Yeah,
figure
but
out
I've got
what
a
to do.
23 to
It's going to be
18.
amazing.
It'll be an interesting game just to go back and forth. I think everyone will just be watching just to see the sack record. It's all over for Dallas and for the New York Giants. Again, could have if they would have lost to Vegas, might have had that number one pick. But they're 3-13. They're at home, which we all know is that place is really great for ripping ACLs. Dallas 7-8-1, 4-point favorites, 51.5. The over under. So it's supposed to be a lot of points in this game. Dak Prescott. I mean, you look at his stats and you think, man, this guy should be on a playoff team. But the stats aren't always there for everything. New York at home. Do they have any chance here? 4-point favorites. I mean, Vegas is thinking that maybe the Giants can ball in this one, or is it just going to be Dallas throwing it all over? Because Jerry Jones has actually intimated that maybe Pickens will not be back next year. So that's an interesting thing as well for Pickens to go, okay, really? I put up all these numbers and I'm gone?
Well, I mean it's a problem, right? Because you didn't want to pay Michael Parsons, but you can't pay Dak 40-60 million, CD
Yeah.
almost 40 million, and then
You're the
give George
Bengals.
Pickens
Yeah.
40 million. It's like you cannot do that. Look at the Bengals; they're doing that, right? They're the Bengals right now, and so I think Quentin Williams has been really good. I think Dallas right now. I think what they do is they franchise tag him, and then it just becomes this kind of thing where either they trade him and get some picks back in return, which I think is what 100% is going to happen. It's going to be a George Pickens, Jerry Jones offseason battle, which will be quite good content actually. I think the Giants got nothing to play for. Jackson Dart's got really like Wan'Dale Robinson's been a really nice kind of surprise for them this year. Kind of, especially like I just think the Giants are just this team that just suffered a lot of bad luck. Losing neighbors. They got a young losing Scatterbo, and then Abdul Carter hasn't been as good as advertised. Everyone thought he'd be kind of coming in being like Myles Garrett. It's just so I feel like it's at least the Giants is like they're gonna
Yeah.
have the number 2 pick. It's a good coaching job to have. So I think no matter what really happened, I think it's a really intriguing offseason for them. But I think the Cowboys are just more talented. They can score. They're going to put the beat down on. They want to go out beating the Giants. They hate the Giants, this team. So I'm going to go 30-17.
Yeah, to your point, I
for
mean,
the
they
Cowboys
just have the
to
more
win.
talent, and there is something I think maybe for them to play the Giants to play it up at home, but do they have enough talent to spread that ball around and play it up? I just don't think that they do. I think Dallas has got enough, guys. Jake Ferguson has sort of fallen off, but he could have another big game because they're really weak against him. So I've got it 28-20. I just think that Dallas is just so much. It's a better team, and Dak can really sling that ball. They want to go out. You go out 8-1. You're below 500, but just barely. But again, not a game I'll be looking at too much. Other game we talked about, NFC South. New Orleans is 6-10. Atlanta 7-9. Atlanta is just such an up and down season. They're 3.5 point favorites, 43.5 over under. They're at home in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Obviously big for Georgia fans having their college team lose last night to Ole Miss. So there's a bit of a wah-wah. But New Orleans and Shuck have been playing some in the second half of the season. Not bad football. Olave is out, though, so there goes his number one target. How do you like, and New Orleans has so many, they hold the fortune of a lot of teams, if they win on this one. So how do you like this game with New Orleans at Atlanta?
I mean, the Falcons must be kicking themselves, Falcons fans and players, just being like, if we just would have won one of these stupid games we lost, we'd be the division winners. Like, and the way Bijan looked last week, going up against that Rams team, busted for 195. He's been dominant this year. They got Kyle Pitts on a resurgence. They got Drake London. They got like, weapons galore. This is a good team, and it just doesn't make any sense why they are where they are. And it's so frustrating to think that there'll be a three-way tie for the division at 8 and 9 potentially, and they could have gotten in. So I think they want to kind of get the Bucks. I think they'll revel playing spoiler, whoever. So I think they're gonna just kind of want to lay a beat down. I think Bijan, they're going to want to put up points, kind of build some momentum into next year, kind of like, unfortunately, what they did last year with Penix, where Penix looked really strong at the end. So I think Cousins is kind of like, this is his last kind of like audition game to be like, even though they beat the Rams last week, he wasn't really that dominant. He didn't do much in that game, but I think he wants, if he feels like he's got one more year, so he's got to have a good game. So I'm going to go with the Falcons to be that. Just makes that game on Saturday even more crazy, especially if the Panthers lose. So I'm going to go with the Falcons to win. I'm going to go 31 to
I always
24.
have that sort of thing that happens where the end where you really need a win and then you try really hard, you just don't get it. I think that's one of those times. I think New Orleans likes playing spoiler, and it just seems that Atlanta, like beating the Rams, and you're like, where did that come from? And then they just lose to crap teams. And I think that's what's going to happen this week. I've got New Orleans to win. Even with Olave missing, I just think they implode, and they have that implodability. So I like New Orleans in a little upset here. I've got New Orleans to win 24-22. I just think it's going to be one of those tight games. Again, it's going to happen, depending on what's going to happen on Saturday. I just feel that New Orleans, even missing Olave, they still have this sort of motivation. It's like, let's mess things up. Let's mess this up for everyone. Because the Falcons, as their fans will attest, have messed up so many things on their own for themselves. So I a little upset there. We talked about the last of the 1 o'clock games, which is Tennessee, 3-13. Heading into Jacksonville, 12-4. 12.5 is the spread. 47.5 point is the over/under. Jacksonville playing some really good football. Since they picked up Jacoby Myers, when we saw them coming into the London games, everyone's like, great, it's Jacksonville again. They weren't looking good. Now the defibrillators are on. They've pumped the heart back in. These guys have got it. This is for them. This is a beatdown because they will then go to 13-4. There's still a chance, I guess, for them to maybe, move up higher and maybe get the 1 seed. I don't know how this all works out. How do you like Jacksonville at home?
I feel like you gotta just take care of it. If I'm the Jags, I want to get a big lead at half. So by the fourth quarter, I can sit Lawrence and sit some guys out because you're gonna have that home game. I just think the Jags know. I think that they're the more talented team. They're at home. They're better offense. They're better defense. They're better just and literally across the board than Tennessee. And I think Tennessee's been a bit kind of pluckier, but they're still a bad football team with not a lot of weapons. Even though the Jags sometimes can play down to their opposition, like they look so dominant, and then last week they kind of just were a bit like, ugh, like struggled a bit. Really. So I'm going to go with the Titans to kind of keep it close, just because, again, I think these division games, the pressure that the Jags are going to be under, I think is just going to make them get a bit nervous. Maybe they go down early and they have to kind of come back. So I'm going to go 24-20 that the Jags win and take care of business. But I think I think the Titans want to make them play for it.
See
want
why.
to kind of spoil it for them.
There's been some glimmers that you look and go, if that Cam Ward just gets a bit more coaching, if he just has a bit more of a mentor, maybe there's some opportunities for him. It's just really tough with this Jacksonville team that is playing so well lately. They've got the running game going. The defense is quite strong. And, again, if, God forbid New England were to lose to Miami, there's a potential for them, to almost get the 1 seed. I just think there's too much here at stake.
Yeah.
They're going to come out balling. I've got it 24-14. Tennessee will try to thwart them and try to do some things. But, once Jacksonville gets that lead, they'll hold it. I just think that's a big point spread for me to go for. But who knows? Whoever knows. The 4 o'clock games we'll talk about. It's the Battle of the AFC East. Miami 6-9 going into New England, who are 13-3. 10.5 point favorites, 45.5 is the over/under. Tua will not be playing. Obviously, he doesn't like the cold, and the coach doesn't like him. New England, though, can get the number 1 seed. They've already got the number 1 spot in the AFC East. How do you like these this battle? Is New England just going to stomp on them, or will Miami have something to say?
Maybe looked all right last week. What they played?
Yeah, I think
They
so.
played what? The Bengals. Was it the Bengals they played last week or something? Miami did. And then yeah, what was it? I think it was.
There was the Bucks last week. They won 20 to
Anyway,
17.
um, oh no, they played the Cardinals. And listen, I think Drake May is really on a heater now. He's got that momentum from that 5 touchdown game. He's got kind of all the hype of the MVP coming in. They, unfortunately, the Patriots did have a little bit of off field issues with a couple players in Diggs
Yeah.
and Barmore. So is that going to play into Diggs, especially going forward into the playoffs? I think the Patriots wish they were in a position where they didn't have to play because it's like the Chargers are benching Herbert, so they kind of know that Denver's probably going to take care of business and they're going to be the two. But they also don't. They're just in a really bad spot where now you have to kind of play this fine line of how much do we do, how hard do we go for this? Because I don't think the Broncos are gonna let up and they're going to want that bye week. I think the Patriots are the better team. Vrabel will have this team prepared. I do not worry about Drake May kind of having. They used to have the Patriots used to always
Mhm.
fumble it in December, but it was always in Miami. And the fact that Quinn Ewers is playing, the fact that Milt Williams should get back, I think the Patriots are the better team, and I think Drake May just kind of puts the MVP case to bed with this game, and they kind of take care of business. I'm going to go 28 to
Yeah, I mean,
21.
10 and a half
The
points is a
Patriots
lot,
win.
but I still think that New England will get that. I mean, you always have teams that sort of choke in week 18. You just don't always have players that are doing it. Give me my food. Give me my food. So much drama. And it's always falling on the Patriots. But I think that there's just, as you say,
So
MVP. They're going
much
to see some
drama.
of the 1 o'clock games happen, know the scores, and all they know is let's just win. Let's just thump these guys. I think for Miami, there's a lot of times where it's just like, what's the motivation here? So I've got it 33 to 14. New England just gets it done. New England runs over it. Drake May, the kid looks great. He really does. And it's only been a little bit of a hiccup since we had the Patriots dynasty. He does, and he's
It's
looking so good,
unfortunate,
and
but he
and
does.
so
He does look
I don't
good.
think a lot of
He
people would
does
have
look
pegged that at the start of the season. I think there's that drama, but there's always drama with New England. Robert Kraft knows how to navigate that. 33-14. Kansas City
good.
are 6-10. Las Vegas 2-14. Had you told us this at the start of the season, we'd be like, "Come on, really? What?" KC 5.5 point favorites. Max Crosby is not going to be playing this game. He's not happy, and this could be the last time we see him there in Las Vegas. It's in Las Vegas. People still hanging out there after New Year's. Casey, as I said, 5.5 point favorites. 37.5 is the over under in this one. For a lot of these guys not to play, not to get hurt. This is sort of a nothing game, but for Kansas City, it would be nice to, at least 7-10. You're not horrible, but you're not great. How do you like this in Vegas? Already there's no point for them to win. They got the number 1 seed.
Well, that's the thing, right? I feel like Mark Davis or Tom Brady's probably gone in there being like, if you lose this game, I will murder you and I will take you all down, and your bloodline, your family bloodline. But think about again, I think the Raiders are so bad. But again, you're playing against a Chiefs team that actually showed a bit of life against Denver, who was really trying to win it last week. And I think Andy Reid has a bit more pride, and I think he's pissed off, at least wants to end the season on a win, and get his young quarterback who doesn't really get much of a chance to play. I think the Raiders have been instructed, if you win this game, you will not be on this team next year. I think, like, if I'm them, I'm playing the worst quarterbacks. Maybe you play Ashton Genty, but I wouldn't risk his injury. If I've got the 1 pick, just who cares? People will say, "Oh, you're going to tank," but yeah, so what? I'd rather tank than make the mistake of, like the Patriots did. Even though Patriots did a couple of years ago, where they basically put in Joe
Yeah.
Milton, and the Bills just let them beat them, and they lost the number 1 pick. So they ended up working out because they got Drake May and everything, so it's all fine. But you just don't want to take that risk. I think Kansas City wins. I think they at least have pride that they are, as if this is Kelsey's last game. Do you really want him going out on a loss? I think this matters to them, and I think they just take care of business. I'm going to go
This could be
22
a game where I think
to
we see some of
14.
the players hung over. Just because you're in Vegas, you're there, Saturday night watching football, and it's like, fuck it, I don't care. Let's go for steaks and let's have a few scotches, get some bottle service. I don't see a lot of points in this one, even though it is Vegas. I've got it 19-9. Kansas City wins. I just don't see a lot of points in it. It's just going to be slow football. A lot of backup players, but also I think with Vegas, it's just been you were promised a gold mine and you got a shithill. So I think for a lot of them, there's a lot of disappointment. A lot of guys that are like, okay, a lot of people know the axe is coming for them, so they're not a lot of motivation. But to your point, maybe Taylor will be there, and Travis, he's not probably going to retire right then, but probably the next couple days. Whatever he can do to steal attention from something else, he will. Heading into my team, as Detroit's 8-8, they're out. Chicago 11-5. We are the NFC North champion, and we are six. Well, it was 3 points favorites. Now it's 5. 50.5 is the over under. There's a lot of people going, why are we playing Caleb? Why are we playing all of our starters? Depending on the seeding, maybe we don't want to play the Packers. How's this all going to work out? But Detroit doesn't have a lot to play for other than pride, which they sold off a lot during the season. How do you like Chicago at home in this one, where it's going to be very snowy?
I think you should always play for the 2 seed because the 1 seed's no guaranteed to win. I think in both conferences, any one team first seed could lose to the 7th seed. I think I wouldn't be surprised in either conference if that happened. So I'm going to pick the Lions to win only because I think the Bears are going to rest by halftime. I think you pull guys. I think they're just going to be at that point where either they're winning or not. I think they're just going to play it smart. It's been years. I think Ben Johnson's got this team. You won the division. You've got enough. I think the fact that the Eagles are probably going to be taking care of business against the Commanders, but you never know with the Eagles. They're just a weird team. They could just. It really kind of depends on what they do. But I think the Lions, how bad it's been, I think at least they're going to try and want to play and end it on a win. So I think if this was like a competitive game, both teams going for it, I'd pick the Bears. But I think the Bears are going to, by halftime, all your starters are out. So I'm going to go with the Lions to win
I can't bet against my Bears.
23-21.
I do see your point, but also the point, again, the earlier point you made, which is you want to go for the 2 seed. And so looking at everything, obviously with Philadelphia, all these things that are going on, Ben Johnson might be like, okay, let's win. I think Bajan, I've always said Tisson Bajan is a great backup, so maybe he plays. I don't know who's, you're going to play Goff. Are you just going to use your backups, Detroit? Try to see what you can get sort of mustered out of there, because again, you don't want to get anyone hurt. It's going to be cold. It's going to be nasty. So I could see them. Why play Gibbs? Why start playing a lot of these guys where you could get injured in the final year? You play a little bit more Montgomery. You rely more on your backups. So I've got Chicago to win 26-18. Going to your Bills now, who are 11-5. They're hosting the New York Jets. 3-13 New York Jets. Buffalo favored by 7 here. 38.5 or 38 is the over/under. Going to be a very snowy day in Buffalo. How do you like Buffalo at home in the weather? You're in the playoffs, but it's been up and down football you guys have been playing.
Well, Trubisky is going to be probably playing the whole game. I think the funniest thing about this whole game is the fact that the Jets haven't had an interception as a team the whole entire season.
Yeah.
Which is one of the wildest statistics. Never happened. I think the lowest has ever been 2. And I think they're about to go a whole season. Potentially, Trubisky could be the one who gives them their first pick, which would be hilarious. But the fact that they haven't gotten an interception, like not even like a tip ball, not even like just a fluky interception that gets knocked up in the air. That didn't happen. That's the sign of an absolute rock bottom season for the Jets. I think the Bills make Trubisky understand that this game matters. They still want to win this, and I think the fact that, again, if you're the Jets with all the injuries you've had, you're not really going to risk anybody. They're just going to want to get through it. I guess maybe Aaron Gunn wants to kind of go out on a win. I think this game is very close. I think it's ugly. I'm going to go 17-14 for the Bills to win. But I don't feel good about it. I think the fact that the Bills lost to Davis Mills with Josh Allen, I don't feel confident that Trubisky can just easily beat the Jets. I don't feel good about any part of this game, even watching it. I'll feel bad watching it. But I'm going to go with the Bills because I think getting the 6th seed, I think you'd rather be the 6th seed than the 7th seed. But again, they're playing not playing Josh Allen.
I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. The weather, just the fact that the Bills can just glide by enough just to get the win, and that the Jets are just so inept. And as long as you start playing, Trubisky just plays some mistake-free football. I think Buffalo gets this one, but again, not a big points on it. I think it's closer than 7. I've got it 20-14, 6-point victory, but the Jets are able to cover this one. Let's head into Philadelphia, who again are 7-point favorites. They're 11-5, Super Bowl reigning champions, taking on a nemesis in Washington, who are 4-12. 41 is the over/under in this one. These two teams always play tight, and Philly, sometimes you're just like, what kind of football are you guys playing? It was a tight game against Buffalo last week. Their defense is just playing some phenomenal football right now. They keep this going against it, or do you think Washington for their final is going to try to probably play some tough football against a division rival?
I mean, they were bad against Buffalo. In this second half, they could do nothing. I know it was terrible weather and it was raining, but they couldn't even get a first down. It was just literally punt, 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 punt. And unfortunately, Buffalo couldn't do anything either offensively because the Eagles' D is that good. And I think the fact that they're playing against Mariota, this is the time at the end of the year when it's hardest. I think Philly, this is where that defense, Jalen Carter, is just going to be dominant. He's going to make life hell for Mariota. They'll be able to get turnovers. Even if Jalen Hurts can't get the running game, that team, no matter what, cannot get Saquon going. No, so, and it's not, I don't know if today's the day. Maybe you get him a little bit of momentum, try and get him going, but at the same time, not wanting to kind of put him at risk. It's just, again, this is just a fine line. They're at the 3 seed, pretty much locked in unless the Bears drop it and then they go up to 2. So I don't know how much they care. I think Philly's just like, we're the champs. We'll be fine. We got the defense to do this. So I could see the Commanders winning this. I think it's going to be very close. I didn't pick the Eagles to win. I'm going to go 23-20, but I think the Commanders could pull the little sneaky upset on this when if
Yeah,
they just
I
being
mean,
like,
I
you know
can
what,
see
we
them
don't
playing
care.
some very
We'll stay at
competitive
3.
football, Washington. So I've got it 24-20. I've got 1 point difference in you. The same thing. These guys play each other tough every season. And this will be no exception. It's like, yeah, you want to get your Super Bowl champs? Well, you're gonna have to go through us, even though we're not that tough. But I can see Mariota having some scrambling. They saw what happened in the Buffalo game last week. They know what they can do to maybe shut them down. And so, and there's always jobs in the line. So I've got it 24-20. Arizona heading into a Rams team who were 11-5. Matt Stafford pretty much gave up his MVP chase last week with his 3 interceptions. They're 7.5-point favorites in this game, and obviously they're going to see what happens between the Seattle and San Fran. But this is must win, obviously, for them too, because depending on the placement and everything goes, there's a lot of teams with 11 wins and against an Arizona team who's sort of faltering their defense. How do you like the Rams at home?
I don't know. I don't know if the Rams have a chance.
Not at the title, not at their division, but
I think whoever wins the division, the game against not the division, yeah. So I don't think the Rams play for anything. I think, in fact, you got Stafford, you got Devontae Adams, who should probably be coming back. So this is like, again, Stafford's old. Let's not forget he's playing lights out. Yeah, you're right. He probably lost. If he still had shot the MVP, maybe you play him a half. But I think you rest him. You rest Kyron Williams. You rest Puka, who's been kind of banged up. He gets banged up a lot. So to me, the Rams take this completely easy, and I think the Cardinals win. I think the Rams lose, just because they don't care. I think there's going to go really vanilla offense, a lot of handoffs, a lot of just dink and dunk passing, not really caring. And Arizona's at least kind of got Trey McBride. They, Jacoby Brissett, no one's going to tell him to lose. He's going to go out there and sling it around there and try and win, and try and put up some points, because he never knows when it's his last game starting as a quarterback. So it's like, I think you got to kind of just go out there and have fun. I think his team likes him. And I'm going to go 27-20 win for the Cardinals on the last game.
Yeah, I still think the Rams, after
pretty
getting
much sit everyone
beat last week, I still say that they're going to be a little bit competitive. Just Arizona is just garbage. So I've got LA to win this one. 7.5 points. I just think, again, what do they have left in terms of Arizona? They're going to want to help. The Rams will want to entertain the hometown fans. So I've got it 26-16. I think they still win by 10. I think they win easily. Arizona will just make mistakes. That defense, even their second defense is going to play well. So I can't see this really being a contest, because Arizona is just garbage. The last game we've got for that slate is the Chargers, who are 11-5, Heading into Denver, who were 13-3, 12.5-point favorites for Denver, obviously with first place on the line. We know that they're going to be resting a lot of players, the Chargers, because they don't have to worry about much. They're going to the playoffs. How do you like this one with Denver at home? Who, obviously can get, if they're going to be watching this, trying to get this number 1 seed.
I mean, yeah, right. I feel like whatever the line is, I'm going to bet the Broncos probably. I feel like they're going to cover it, even though they did struggle against the backup quarterback but last week in the Chiefs. But at least they were still playing all their starters, all their other positions. Where I think the Chargers rest everyone. They're a banged up team. They're going to sit as many players as possible. They don't care about going to 7 because they need the Bills. And I think it's just not worth their time. Jim Harbaugh's smarter than that. He's not Brandon Staley who would throw Mike Williams out there. But I think Broncos just take care of business. I think they want to. It's at home. They want to be a little party in the new year to clinch that first division or clinch the 1 seed, get the bye. The crowd's having a party by halftime. I think they take care of business. I'm going 30-10. For the Broncos, that they're just going to play lights out, I think, this week and trying to build some momentum because the last couple of games they haven't looked their best. And I think if they're going to go into that bye, you don't want to go into a bye barely beating the backups of the Chargers. I think that would be a bad look, and I don't think the Denver team or fans would be very confident
I'm
going
with you
into
on
the
this
playoffs.
one. This is a hometown celebration. Happy New Year, everyone. Denver puts a beating on. They obviously be looking and watching this New England game. Chargers, it's everyone just show off, have some fun, prove you can make a team, this team or another team next season. This is a time for some guys to make some names for themselves, but Denver is just going to have a field day. They'll run it all over them. 27-14 is the one I've got. We head into our final game. It's a night game. Baltimore, 3.5-point favorites. They're 8-8. Lamar will be playing this game against a Pittsburgh team who's 9-7. 40.5 is the over-under. It's in Pittsburgh. This is divisional football right here, and Lamar is going to come out balling. They've had Pittsburgh has found some winning ways. How do you like Pittsburgh at home against Lamar and company?
I mean, it's so funny that DK Metcalf's not in this game because it's like, don't worry, we'll get in the playoffs as I punch. Because this is a disaster. They
Just
have nobody.
Gainwell, yeah.
Rodgers is out there throwing it to nobody. He's got no receiver. Even Austin, just Gainwell. All he can do is just dump it off. He's been lost Darnell Washington. He broke his arm or something. So he's out. It's a disaster. I see no way that they can. I think with Lamar hearing all the talk about, is he going to get traded? I think, is he falling asleep in meetings? All this talk, as people questioning his toughness. I think he wants to come out. This is a big game for Lamar to kind of silence all those critics. And I think he comes out and just kind of puts a stamp in, and people will be like, uh-oh, nobody wants to play Baltimore now. No one wants to be the 5th seed. The Bills might be like taking the lead, be like, let's not be the 5th seed. And we might not want to play Baltimore. Let's just stick at 6 and 7. I think it's a better matchup for us. I think the Broncos take care of business. I think the Steelers failed by worrying so much about Myles Garrett and not worrying about clinching their division. And it will come back to bite Mike Tomlin and come back to bite this team completely and Aaron Rodgers. And it's hilarious. And they deserve it because they should have won last week. That was a terrible performance against the Browns who can't do anything. So I'm going to go with Baltimore to win. I'm going to go 26.
Yeah, I'm with you on this
18.
one. I think Lamar sort of healed himself mentally and physically. And you go from a season before where everyone's talking, MVP, to now it's like, he's going to get traded. He's so bad. And maybe they'll fire the coach and maybe this and the drama, to have an 8-8 season when you're anticipating you're going to have maybe 12 wins. So, to your point, who's he going to throw to? Rodgers has looked good, and I can see him coming back next year because there were successes in this team, but they just didn't have enough talent. If he had a few more receivers on this squad, you'd be talking about something different. If he would have had a Pickens, imagine, what that would have been like. So I just think Baltimore is got it here. I can see, and what we saw with Derrick Henry the other week, it's just like, well, let's just let him run, and see if you can stop him. So, and D. Henry's going to want to go out with a bang. So, I could see it being competitive and then it just not. I've got it 27-20, but I think Pittsburgh might be trying to make up points in garbage time because you'll be coming back from it. So we both agree Baltimore will win it. That's it. What do we know, folks? We're just a couple of Canadians talking about American football. Enjoy Week 18, everyone, and we'll be back to talk about all the playoffs. Wildcard is our next playoff, is our next podcast. Happy New Year, everyone, and enjoy.